Hey, how's it going? Today we are talking about apocalyptic dreams. I'm going to start with, and this subject matter may get pretty uncomfortable and a little disconcerting, but it's important. So just be advised that it may be a little gross, but you'll see what I mean. I'm going to start with a passage from Carl Jung's book, Man and His Symbols, and I'm just going to read a little bit of it to get started. It's on page 59 is where I'm reading from if you have a copy of the book and you want to read it on your own or read the rest of it later. A very important case came to me from a man who was himself a psychiatrist. One day he brought me a handwritten booklet he had received as a Christmas present from his 10-year-old daughter. It contained a whole series of dreams she had had when she was 8. They made up the weirdest series of dreams that I have ever seen, and I could well understand why her father was more than just puzzled by them. Though childlike, they were uncanny, and they contained images whose origin was wholly incomprehensible to the father. Here are the relevant motifs from the dreams. Number 1. The evil animal. A snake-like monster with many horns kills and devours all other animals. But God comes from the four corners, being in fact four separate gods, and gives rebirth to all the dead animals. Number 2. An ascent into heaven, where pagan dances are being celebrated, and a descent into hell, where angels are doing good deeds. Number 3. A horde of small animals frightens the dreamer. The animals increase to a tremendous size, and one of them devours the little girl. Number 4. A small mouse is penetrated by worms, snakes, fishes, and human beings. Thus the mouse becomes human. This portrays the 4 stages of the origin of mankind. Number 5. A drop of water is seen as it appears when looked at through a microscope. The girl sees that the drop is full of tree branches. This portrays the origin of the world. Number 6. A bad boy has a clod of earth and throws bits of it at everyone who passes. In this way, all the passers-by become bad. Number 7. A drunken woman falls into the water and comes out renewed and sober. Number 8. The scene is in America, where many people are rolling on an ant heap, attacked by the ants. The dreamer, in a panic, falls into a river. Number 9. There is a desert on the moon where the dreamer sinks so deeply into the ground that she reaches hell. Number 10. In this dream, the girl has a vision of a luminous ball. She touches it. Vapors emanate from it. A man comes and kills her. Number 11. The girl dreams she is dangerously ill. Suddenly, birds come out of her skin and cover her completely. Number 12. Swarms of gnats obscure the sun, the moon, and all the stars except one. That one star falls upon the dreamer. In the unabridged German original, each dream begins with the words of the old fairy tale, Once Upon a Time. By these words, the little dreamer suggests that she feels as if each dream were a sort of fairy tale, which she wants to tell her father as a Christmas present. The father tried to explain the dreams in terms of their context, but he could not do so, for there seemed to be no personal associations to them. So he continues to talk about it and the dream and his interpretations of events. She had those when she was 8, and a year after she gave them as a Christmas present to her father, she died. And so there's obviously a sense of foreboding and foretelling within her dreams. I think we can reasonably come to some conclusions that certain dreams, or maybe even all dreams, we could find the source and correlation to what the dream means and why it means that. And we would do this through an understanding of the microscopic esoterica, in which the things happening in your body, the microbes interacting in your body, in your dreams, in the unconscious, the motif of snakes and maggots and things eating other things and death, and that sort of apocalyptic symbolism of God and rebirth. I believe this is a way in which the body, which is the unconscious, the microbiome, is warning the body of some danger that is going on primarily in the body. And what this would likely be when dealing with a lot of insect and snake symbolism, parasites and parasitic worms. And to clarify, this doesn't mean any apocalyptic dreams. Sometimes we dream of different fantasies or things we're watching or experiencing or seeing on TV or reading in a book. And so we have dreams inspired by that. But I think there are some that are certainly foreboding, that are a warning of things happening. And the idea that there's this giant snake or serpents or leviathans is this reflection of what's going on in the body, in which there are parasitic worms, and the weight of those worms in the body, the danger, the seriousness of those worms are reflected in the dreams as these giant snakes. The impression that they are putting the body under, the pressure that they're putting the body under, is reflected as these cataclysmic events, these end-of-the-world dreams, and your death repeating over and over. As I think most of Carl Jung's work and things he experienced and the things we all experience with the dreams of the unconscious is that they are explainable through the microscopic. And certainly in my research, what I call the microscopic esoterica, in that these microscopic events are personified because we are still human bodies, even if we are a collective of the microbiome. That is the way in which the microbiome views itself. And so gods are personified and forces of nature are personified. And it explains it in a way that we would understand it. And so now we have to learn more about parasites. And like any sort of parasitic organism, the first thing it does when it enters the body is conceal itself. So it blends in with the body so there's no immune response. And so that first stage of parasitic infection is to convince the person that there's no issues. But even within that, there is instinct, which is the gut microbiome communicating with you. And it will often communicate, even if the body isn't able to pinpoint or recognize where the parasites are and get rid of them on its own, there's still intelligence going on. And this warning is coming through, is translated as perhaps dreams of the apocalypse. And obviously we can see within the case of that girl that she died of some sickness. And when you die of sickness, things are happening on the microscopic level, whether it's bacteria, virus, fungus, or parasitic worms, and usually a combination of a lot of different things going on at once because they build upon each other. As your immune system weakens, you get invaded, and these parasites are able to spread to different parts of the body. So how serious are parasites? How widespread are they? And turns out they are extremely widespread. It's not just something that happens occasionally to people around the world living in the dirtiest conditions. It can happen to anyone. Most of the big medical industries and journals say that, oh, we're in an industrialized country, people don't have parasites in them. They are downplaying it severely, as most people and animals, they will encounter parasites. And it wasn't until recently that humans incorporated deworming herbs and medicines into their diet regularly. I believe in India, as recently as 2015, they made a day of deworming for all of their school students. So everyone from preschool to high school, they go through deworming right before the school year starts to try to stop disease and sickness from spreading. And in general, people, even in America, up until recently, deworming was a regular part of your diet, of your just your health. And this was true for almost every culture that has ever existed. Deworming was such an important aspect of life because that is how prolific they are. And you can get them in your tap water, in your food, spread from outside, from soil. They're mainly microscopic, and because of that, we usually don't think of it as a problem the same way with fungus. But where they differ from fungus is fungal infections, they hack our bodies in order to control us and to influence our actions, and they're generally less immediately harmful. Your health may decline, but they aren't trying to necessarily kill the host, so they're just spreading and taking it over to control it. With parasitic worms, their goal is mainly to proliferate and spread as fast as they can, and it does vary depending on the species of worm, but they will do their best to lay their eggs and spread to different parts of your body and eventually lead to your death so that they can emerge out and go on to the next host. But what the research shows with parasitic infections is that parasites are very good at hacking our psychology, our physiology, things that our behavior and the things we are interested in, the things we do. They affect our mood and lead us into risky behavior, into bad habits, bad dietary habits. They make us social pariahs. They try to make us isolated from our peers and do all kinds of things to make you want to not be alive anymore. And so they influence you towards leading an unhealthy lifestyle. It's risky, behavior is risky. And they did research on rats, and they found that a type of worm that comes from cat feces that can get into rats causes the rats to no longer be afraid of cat piss and cat feces and just the smell of cats in general. It rewires their brain into no longer seeing that as a threat that associates it with the cats being the predator. It rewires their brain so that they're more exposed to it, and so that the cat can eat them, and the cycle of the parasites continues. But the infection can get further into the point where the rat now sees the cat as a potential mate. So it will approach the cat directly, and then the opportunity for the cat to eat it is much more likely, and then the worms just keep spreading and proliferating. And so that's just one study on one specific worm in one specific kind of cycle of interactions between two different animals. There are many, many worms, and I am sure, just like fungus, they're completely understudied, and a lack of even acknowledgement that we have them in some degree, that most people do, and that we need to regularly deworm. And your body's going to tell you that through dreams. And it also makes me think of different odd animal behavior, usually leading up to that animal's death. Like you hear about crazy hamster deaths, or dogs, they develop weird behavior where they just want to eat feces. And to me that just sounds like parasitic rewiring, parasitic hacking. And they do this, it makes them sicker and sicker, the parasite spreads, and eventually the dog runs out and gets hit by a car, or just runs out and gets itself killed. It seems to parasites seem to be very aggressive in trying to get you killed. Something observed in cats is that they can predict their own death, and so that they will isolate themselves before they die. And I wonder if this behavior is mainly seen in cats that have a significant amount of worms. And maybe at some point the cat recognizes that it has these worms, and so chooses to isolate itself because it knows that it's filled with these worms and it doesn't want it to spread, and so the cat isolates itself knowing that it's going to die. And the parasites recognize that the cat knows its presence, and so it's kind of a race against time of who can kill who to ensure the success of their families. And deworming is a regular part of any pet's health, but it's not a regular part of our health. And that changed, I think, recently in the mid-1900s, I guess. We just moved away from that trend. I'm sure the corrupt medical industries don't help with that, but it is a much bigger problem. And it's not like third world countries are the only people that may have that problem. Certainly in America, we have trash everywhere. We have dirty, filthy water. Tap water is filthy. Our rivers, lakes, everything is polluted. So there's no reason to think that we are free from parasites. And the amount of effects, they're hard to find. And again, like any other parasitic microbe, they convince the body that it doesn't exist, that there's nothing wrong, and they're going to continue to spread and slowly decline your health and your mental health and your behavior. And so then I was thinking about the different themes if we're talking about apocalyptic dreams. And I think we could reasonably make some deductions about certain famous people, certain authors, people like H.P. Lovecraft or Edgar Allan Poe. That these people they were geniuses at their craft, but they all seem to have very peculiar behaviors, and they seem to fixate on a certain perversion. Certainly in H.P. Lovecraft's case, he was extremely racist. And he was pretty much bedridden most of his life, suffered from nightmares and sleep paralysis and all kinds of paranoia. And that doesn't just happen for no reason. Usually there's something going on the microscopic level, some sort of hacking. And furthermore, you can see his creation, his mythos of beings like Cthulhu, which are giant worm gods, kind of inspired from Sumerian and other ancient cultures, that there again is that reflection of this unconscious fear of parasites, and that's the weight that they are given, because you don't know, it's almost incomprehensible to you. You know that there's something wrong with you, but you have no idea how to fix it. And it's going to come through you in dreams and the unconscious in the form of these giant worm, snake, dragon, monster, leviathans, whilst also messing with your brain. And you can find any sort of like prodigy that has just really weird behavior and usually fixates on something that is generally not socially acceptable, right? Even people like Tesla, just odd behaviors where they're geniuses at something, that connection to the microscopic consciousness, the microscopic esoterica, while having this weird perversions and fixations on things which make them outcasts. That is an effect of parasites that has been studied. So when you have those bad dreams, and in just bad dreams in general, usually if you pay attention to how your gut health, how you feel, your digestive system, how your stomach feels, what you ate before you sleep, you might be able to start pinpointing certain moods of dreams, motifs, themes that correlate with how you're feeling in your gut. And so it really requires a lot of focus on your digestive system and your breathing, to focus, to meditate, to understand how your body feels, and then record your dreams, and then know how you feel when you went to sleep or when you wake up, how your gut feels. And I think you'll start to notice patterns of certain types of dreams. And obviously apocalyptic dreams are going to be the most probably life-threatening and serious. Not to say that, again, we sometimes just have dreams of things we are watching or thinking about. If you wake up with this fear that this dream was eerie or foreboding, it could be that your microbiome, gut, soul, instinct, ego, whatever you want to name it, is warning you of this, and it's going to use symbolism, the same symbolism found in all ancient religion, of these giant cosmic war, cosmic battles of monstrous creatures, usually snakes and leviathans. And this is just how the human body has always presented itself when it can't explain these incomprehensible fears and horrors, that is really just parasitic infections in the body, and is trying to figure them out and communicate to the self in a way that it can understand and relate to. The parasitic worms may be microscopic, but their effect is world-shattering within your own world. And that's why in that microcosmic war, it's always giant snakes and leviathans and dragons. And trying to keep this pretty short, so because I know I just had that 2-hour movie, The Microscopic Esoterica, so I'm trying to keep things short. But there is a follow-up video to this I will make as soon as I can, and it's about something I am calling the Book of Worms. And so this will be an important precursor to that video. So yeah, thanks for watching, and peace out.